Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Roanoke Presents from Print to Podcast. I'm your host, Liz Long, and today's episode is made possible thanks to our wonderful guest sponsor, Sunshine Tours, a proud local business helping people explore the country one unforgettable trip at a time. Joining me today is Kendra Flinchum, Chief Operating Officer and Director of Tours at Sunshine Tours. Whether you've seen their iconic motor coaches on the road or heard rave reviews from your neighbor's latest adventure, Sunshine Tours is all about turning getaways into memories. And with Kendra at the helm, they continue to grow while keeping their deep roots in family, service, and good old-fashioned hospitality. Kendra, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to talk about this. I was just telling you before we started, I went on vacation recently, and so my husband and I are trying to do a lot more of that, and so I love seeing the opportunities that you're providing to our citizens of Roanoke and just being able to get away and do something really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start with a little bit of background, if you don't mind. So for those who might not know about Sunshine Tours beyond your name and the beautiful buses, tell us a little bit about the company's history and your role, because you didn't grow up in this necessarily.
Right. Yeah, so we started in 1982.
Yep.
The company's been around for over 40 years. It was started by Carol Stone. He was actually a cafeteria worker at Virginia Tech. And
wow.
It was during the World's Fair in Knoxville, 1982, and he had a bunch of people that wanted to go that he knew, like friends, family. So he rented a bus, and he decided to take people down to the World's Fair, and he absolutely fell in love with the travel industry and taking people and showing them things and how happy it made them. So he did over 50 buses to the World's Fair that year, and that kind of just solidified everything for him that's what he wanted to do. So
what
he
innovation.
Quit his job,
oh my gosh.
on a whim, quit his job, started putting together tours, and slowly built up the business to where he could buy buses and things like that, and then it just grew from there. So now here we are over 40 years later doing over 200 tours a year to many, many, many different destinations. And
what an amazing story. I like to just leap off the cliff like that and quit your job to travel and help others travel.
Crazy, right?
What an amazing story. That's like the American dream, not to use that label lightly.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Amazing. So again, you talked about being part of the Roanoke and New River Valley for decades now, but what is it like to step into your leadership role now? Because you've done that pretty recently.
Yeah, within the last 3 years, I kind of stepped into a leadership role. I've been there since 2011, started at the bottom and just kind of worked my way up. So I've saw pretty much every aspect of the business, right? Started out just people making reservations and talking to me on the phone, to now doing all the day-to-day operations and making sure everything's running smoothly and planning tours and stuff like that. So it's just been really a whirlwind, but it's also been the greatest opportunity that I've ever had.
And within 3 years for you to step into that role, I mean, that's really impressive. I love a Cinderella story where you start. I started as a receptionist here at Leisure, and so now I'm an editor. So I love somebody who has worked through every trench and knows every detail, because they have been in every position possible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so you really see a lot of, challenges and learning how to overcome those so that they don't happen again, or you know how to tackle them again. I mean, you probably run into some really interesting situations just trying to figure out, what does a typical day in the life look for you in terms of how do you pick a location and then, get people to sign up? Like, it's just so many details to it.
Yeah, so we have destinations that we'll always do, like everywhere people want to go, New York, Nashville, Niagara Falls, places like that people are always going to want to go to, that we'll always offer vacations to those places. And then we have places like that we find out about through like conventions and CVBs and things like that. Destinations will tell us about different things and opportunities, or maybe special events that are going on, and we listen to our customers. So we have a very large customer base and people that are very loyal to us, and they'll say, hey, we've been traveling with you for years. We'd love to go here. And so we'll look into it and see if we can create a trip.
I love that.
And then that's how we kind of create our new destinations and new trip offerings and things like that. We're very big on listening to what our customers want.
I love that, because then again, you're creating that loyalty and they want to be with you and they know that you're going to hear wherever it is they want to go. When you take the bus to Hawaii, how do you get over there?
Well, we don't take the bus. We take the bus to the airport.
Yeah.
But other than that, but that's actually really cool too. We partner with a bus company in Hawaii.
Cool.
And so once the tour guide, you always have somebody, like if you do an international or to Hawaii, one of your local tour guides, Sunshine Tours guide, will always be with you.
Awesome.
And then when you get to where your destination is, another company will meet you, and you're still on a bus tour, but it's just not a Sunshine bus.
That's so awesome. So how many people do you have working for your company? I mean, you must have a lot of tour guides who know a lot about a lot.
Yeah, so we have over 80 employees right now. So we're technically considered small business.
But girl, you are running things. Oh my gosh, that's a big team.
Over 80 most of those are drivers, and then we have about 10 to 12 tour guides that just circle around and do all the tours. So
are they, when they take a trip to New York, do they already have that information? Like, do they know it already like the back of their hand, or is it something that as they continue to go, they always learn a little something new and bring that into their tour guide?
It's kind of like both, right?
Yeah.
So before we send them to somewhere like New York, we're obviously going to take them on a training trip with somebody who's very versed with it so that they can kind of get the ropes, because that's a whole beast in and of itself, taking a whole group of people to New York. Yeah. So we'll train them, and then as they go, they kind of, if they went back on their own, they would get their own little niche and maybe find interesting things that they want to show the group. That's the great thing about the tour guides. They have an itinerary to follow of things that we've advertised that we're going to take them to, but then they're so good about finding like little novelty things, like a novelty shop or something that's, they've got time to stop at, so they'll take the group, and that'll just be like their own little thing. All of them are so unique, and that's what makes them unique, because they customize it to fit their style.
That's amazing. New York is my example, listeners, because I just got back from New York. My husband and I did a week there, and it's kind of like what you said. You're going to be able to have something that I know I'm going to go to Statue of Liberty. I know I'm going to go to the Tenement Museum or certain places, but you cannot, New York again, for my example, you cannot fit in all of New York in a week.
Right.
So the fact that you could go on this tour maybe several times and still see and do and learn something new every time, I think is super interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so what are some of your most popular tours right now, or any that maybe surprised you with popularity?
Well, this year we offered a trip to Iceland.
Okay.
And I was actually shocked at how fast it sold out.
Really?
And I don't know why, because Iceland is beautiful.
I feel like it's a hot,
it's a big destination right now.
Yeah.
But I would just think, because a lot of our customers are retirees, so you would just think that they wouldn't be into like such a active trip, right? Because it's going to be really active, lots of walking, stuff like that. So that just really shocked me. I mean, within probably 2 months, all the spots were filled. We actually had to add another date.
Wow.
So we're doing 2 whole trips.
And how many spots are like per, give or take?
For anything that we're flying, usually around 30, just because.
That's a big group.
Yeah, because you've got one tour guide trying to handle that many people, and it's a lot.
I can really keep track of me and my husband. How do you keep track of
so we
29,
don't put
30
50
people?
like we would on a normal bus, with them. But that was probably a really big shocker for us. And then we've tried some different things, like we did a spa trip for like the weekend after Mother's Day.
Oh, that's great.
For like people to buy for their wife or their mom or whatever.
That.
And
I
it was more
that,
like
Jason
it was more like a girls trip, right?
That's
so it was just, we took them down to Charleston, South Carolina, and they stayed at this resort, and they got pampered with massages, and they got
signing up for that
all
one
this
next.
stuff. So that was surprising too, because it's so out of the normal. It wasn't like a tour.
Right.
It was more about relaxation. So,
but Charleston is an ideal place to do that.
Absolutely. So just things like that, when we try something new, you never know if it's going to hit or not.
Yeah.
And then, we just decided, why not? So, and it did. And it was actually very surprising.
Iceland, huh? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we were talking just before we started. You used to be able to go on a lot of those trips. And of course, now as the head honcho, you have got to deal with some paperwork and things like that. You don't get to go on as many trips.
Right.
But maybe what are some of your favorite trips you've taken with Sunshine Tours?
One of my absolute favorites has to be Hawaii. We were just talking about that. I got to take a group in 2018 to Hawaii. We were there for 16 days, and it was amazing.
Oh my gosh. Did you think, this is my job?
Yeah, it is crazy to think about. At that time, I was just like, I'm getting paid to be in paradise. Like, this is crazy.
I'm super jealous. You got it. You got it unlocked.
Yeah, so that's probably like definitely my highlight. I am going to be going to Iceland with one of the groups, so that's probably going to be added to my list.
That was my follow-up question.
Yeah, so, there's kind of a little perk of being the head honcho, so to speak. You want to go, you're just going to go. So
I just want to take a vacation.
Yeah. So, that's probably going to definitely be a highlight. But as far as like in the U.S., I actually really love going out west. We do a trip that has all the national parks like Arches, Zion, the Grand Canyon, Bryce's Canyon, all that stuff. That trip is just absolutely beautiful, and the scenery is breathtaking. We do trips like that's 20 days long, right? They go all the way to California and back.
That's a long drive, but you're really taking. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say I want to do this trip. My husband and I talk about going out west all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, we want to hit a bunch of spots. He's a history guy, so he wants to see a whole bunch of things.
Right.
How does a 20-day tour out west, how does that work necessarily? How often are you stopping, or are you staying overnight at places? Or are you really just driving through the night? How does that work?
Yeah, so we stop every night. You'll have hotel accommodations every night that are included in your tour. Most of the time, you're just there for one night until we get out to California, and you're there multiple nights. But we make sure that we stop every 2 to 2.5 hours, no matter if it's a rest break or a meal stop, or we're stopping to do an activity or whatever it is. So you're not just constantly cooped up on the bus.
Yeah. And the kid, are we there yet kind of thing?
Yeah, and the good thing about the bus tours are people who've never taken one don't realize how big of a community it is. Our tour guides are so amazing at making it feel like a big family. And they play games and they show movies, and everybody's, interacting with each other, and it just really becomes like a family. And then by the time you're coming back, if you've been around these people for 20 days or even 7 days, honestly, you're kind of sad to leave them because you're like, man, we've created these friendships, and now I'm just not going to see you every day.
When's our next trip?
Yeah. And that happens so often.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I love the idea that if I, as a solo woman, wanted to travel, I could still find safety and kind of enjoyment with a group of people that I might not necessarily know at the beginning.
Right.
But then you get to know each other, and maybe even sort of look out for each other in certain areas where you stop.
Yeah, and the good thing is, like when we stop for meals or anything like that, a lot of people who travel alone are worried about being singled out, and we never do that. Yeah, I mean, if they want to be, of course, do your thing. But if we would never, we would pair them with another single person to sit with and eat, or couple or whatever, so that they're not just feeling really lonely while everybody else is sitting around talking to each other. So we just make it really important to be inclusive with everybody.
Yeah, I tell everybody, nobody eats at my lunch table alone. That's not the deal. Like you don't have to be in it. I'm not going to drag you in it. But I really love the idea that you don't have to be by yourself if you don't want to be. Well, I love that. And so you, of course, see firsthand how much joy travel brings people. Travel everywhere, but you've mentioned retirees, maybe people who don't necessarily travel on their own that often. Is there maybe a favorite story or a memory that really sticks with you? I mean, you've been doing it for a while, and you've had a lot of really amazing experiences. So I'm curious about what jumps out when you think about a memory.
Yeah, I can't think of really one specific memory, but there's just so many, there's so many aspects of what we do that just bring happiness to people. Like you said, somebody who maybe is a recent widow or widower, and they are just trying to get out there, and they end up meeting friends, or we've actually had people meet a new spouse on our buses, and they start dating, and then they end up getting married.
That's amazing.
And it's just such a good way for people like that who are sad and lonely, and then we bring joy to them. Also, like when you're showing some people something for the first time, like the Grand Canyon or something like that, and then their face just lights up. Or New York, as you said, they see the skyline and they're like, oh my gosh, and they'll get their camera out and they'll be taking the pictures out the bus. And just the actual genuine happiness that people feel when they're on the bus tour is really just the best memory, because then you're looking at them and you're like, this is why we do this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that, because, between the pandemic and all that, it was hard to travel for a long time. And so I think a lot of people forgot what it's like when you go somewhere new and you see the Grand Canyon, and you see the skyline, you're just like, wow, I've kind of been so siloed off in my neighborhood for a long time, that it's amazing to think. So I think that's really incredible that you get to provide these experiences and see that happiness in people. And this is kind of a cliche question, but in your opinion, why is travel so important for everybody? I think, again, culturally and things like that, but what do you think about why is it so important to get these people out and to see the world a little bit?
I think that just the serotonin of it all, right? When you're going through your day-to-day life, it's really mundane, and you get you can get sort of depressed, honestly, even though you're just doing your normal routine, right? And then when you get on a vacation, no matter if it's on a bus or on your own, you have a certain level of, oh, I'm so glad to have this break. So instantly, when your people are getting on the bus, they're just so excited. I think it's just very important just for anybody's mental health, physical health, honestly, to just get out and be able to do anything, no matter if it's even a day trip, right? Like we do stuff that's just for a day, take people to see a play in Charlotte, or take them to the zoo, or, whatever, just something out of the usual to just be like, you know what, that was an amazing day. You know, that was so much fun. And I didn't even have to drive. You know what I mean?
That's even better.
Like somebody took me and dropped me off at the door and I didn't have to worry about where to park.
That's exactly how I want to travel.
Yeah. So that's just, you know, we're just really, we take a lot of pride in being able to provide that to people.
Yeah. I love the day trip version too. Because of course, when I think about travel, I'm, you know, a week or two in my head, but like just a day to get out and do something fun, something different.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Again, not just for retirees, but maybe I just have the day off and I want to find something to do for myself and stay busy. So.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing that like a lot of people think when they think of bus tours, they think of seniors and retirees, and it is a lot of that.
Sure.
But we do have a very mixed bag of customers. We have people who are of all ages. We just, on that trip that I was talking about for the national parks, we literally just did that one. There was a 21 and a 23-year-old on that bus.
Shows me that it's affordable.
It is affordable. And then, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be retirees. You know, if you have the time and you want to go, like we have another partner that we do a lot of stuff with, and she wanted to take one of our tours, and she said, I just don't know which one to take, and her husband wanted to go to Canada. She'd never done a bus tour, and she's like, I'm going to give it a shot because it would help me learn about you, right, and what you do. She absolutely fell in love with it. She's now taken over 3 tours that she just did it last September, so now she's at 3. They've created these really amazing friends here in Roanoke because they're also from Roanoke, and they get together like once a week and have dinner, and like it's just amazing how it really becomes full circle for somebody when, you know, we could sit here and talk about sunshine, but until you experience it, it becomes like a whole other thing.
But I love that you're talking about this community. You're really building community even outside the buses, right? So, you know, in your mind, Sunshine Tour sort of reflects the spirit of Roanoke in that way.
Yeah.
I love the community vibe that you're building. You get off that bus. We became friends over the last 2 weeks. I've got to go see her for lunch now. We've got a weekly standing. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, we're really big on taking part in the community. We're really big on giving back to people in the community. You know, we've done a lot of giving away trips and things like that for like, you know, we did a nurses event last year in the New River Valley. They were rewarding nurses for all their hard work, and we gave away trips. We've done that. We've done the cancer center. We've done lots of things for people just to try to bring some kind of joy.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what we pride ourselves on is, you know, like if you call our office, you're not going to get an automated line. You're going to get a live person, and you're going to get somebody that you're going to probably talk to every time because it's the same 8 of us that work in the office every day. And we really, really find that important that you can actually speak to a live person instead of having to hit 0 a million times trying to get a hold of somebody.
And I know you have specific questions, that person can walk you through it or ask you the question sitting next to you and relay it. Like, I think that's important too. You'd mentioned serotonin, which I think is so funny because it's true, right? I hadn't traveled for a long time, and then I've taken 3 trips this year, and it's sort of like as soon as I get home, I'm ready to book the next one. And I didn't realize, like, for a long time, is this how people who travel feel all the time? Like they just look forward to the next thing and they get to enjoy it. And then as soon as they get back, they're like, let's do another one. Yeah. And I can imagine a lot of your folks are like, as soon as they barely off the bus, they're like, when's the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's a newer customer, like if it's their first tour and they'll just have that one scheduled and then they fall in love with it and they'll come back and they'll book another one. We have a lot of our regulars that at the beginning of the year when our book comes out, they just go through that whole thing and they'll call and they'll book like 10, 12 trips, one a month, sometimes 2 a month, and they're just ready to go.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be one of those retirees who's just like traveling all the time.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm really into this idea of like not having to schlep all my stuff and drive myself and, you know, get lost particularly.
Yeah, and the good thing about it too, when you get to where you're going, like at the hotel for the night, you know, normally you'd have to go check in and you'd have to get your bag to your room and all these things. You don't do that when you're on a bus tour.
You're a fancy concierge.
Your tour guide goes in, gets your hotel keys, she hands them out to you. Either the driver or the hotel brings your bag to your room, no matter where you're at.
Amazing.
So you don't have to, you just get off the bus and you go to your room and...
You're speaking all my bougie language. I love this. This is
great. It really
great.
makes them feel like they're in first class all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's fantastic. So what are, again, we're talking about, I want to talk about the tours that are coming up, but I mean, you've mentioned Hawaii, Iceland, New York, Wild West, like, and then we talked about Cajun, you know, a New Orleans, Louisiana trip. Like, what are the other trips we're taking right now? Because there are so many that you're offering. I had no idea you went to Iceland. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we do. And we actually, so we have so many different things. We have something for everybody. So we have a trip coming up that is to New York, but not the city. It's the Finger Lakes and the Thousand Islands.
Cool.
So we're going to be doing that. We have a Canada trip going to Niagara Falls, Montreal, Toronto, Quebec. We do
Your partner's
that.
gonna have to take that one so she can go to Canada.
Yeah. We go to Alaska. People don't realize that we go to
Well,
Alaska.
I went to New York in July, and I literally said, next July I'm going to Alaska. So I like that idea a lot.
we do Alaska. We do an Alaska cruise, and we do it in July. So
the perfect time.
yeah, the perfect time. We actually have a cruise coming up. It's a European river cruise down the Danube River. So we're doing that. We did our first one last year down the Rhine River in Europe, and people absolutely loved it. So that's the biggest thing, is that people don't realize, like, we do pretty much everywhere in America.
Yeah.
You know, Florida, down the Southwest, all out west, Midwest. We do everywhere, right?
Well, you were just talking to Cherie, our vice president, about how you took her to Daytona.
Yeah, the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
We take people to sporting events,
Amazing.
baseball games. We have a trip coming up. You know, there's a big baseball game at Bristol Motor Speedway next weekend where the Braves are playing the Reds. They've turned the speedway into a baseball field.
You're taking care of travel, parking.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, all the things that
your
you don't want to
ticket.
deal with.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it's just like, people don't realize that we're more than just a 7-day vacation. We do all kinds of things. And that's what really opens their mind to the fact that we are more than just, hey, I'm going to go to Branson, Missouri, which is a great place to go, but it's not all we do.
Yeah, I love that. You're almost a travel agent of sorts. I mean, I hate to like place you in just that position because you do so much, but like you're really helping people understand where they're going, how they're getting there, and again, the responsibilities that come with travel.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's a lot.
another amazing thing that we offer that people don't realize is we offer a charter service. So, like, if a university, a school, a church, or like a family wanted to do a family reunion, they can call us. They could rent our bus and driver, and we'll take them wherever they want to go.
I love that.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be that you sign up for our tour. We can also, you can use our bus to take you wherever you need
Kendra,
to go.
You do it all.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we really do.
You really do. So any big changes or maybe long-term goals you can tease for us? Again, you're talking about these amazing trips coming up, but is there anything else that you wanted to let listeners know about?
Yeah, I mean, every day we're striving to grow and do things a little differently. Kind of, you know, like I said, we've been here since '82, and when I took over 3 years ago doing the operations, there was a lot of changes that I wanted to make, just being in my generation and knowing
modern technology
and things that we could offer that we didn't used to be able to offer. The things that we're trying to get up and running, like online reservations, so that you don't have to call us if you don't want to. You know, people my age are working, and it's easier for them to just go online and do that. So we're working toward that. We're working on offering bigger destinations.
Bigger? How can you go bigger?
Next year we're also offering Iceland again, but we're also doing Portugal and Spain next year.
Oh, man.
So we're really, really excited. You know,
I hope you get to go on those trips too.
Yeah, I do too. But we're just trying to broaden the horizons. When we started in '82, you know, it was just basically short little week-long trips. And there's so much more that we can do for our customers, right? Yeah. And there's people in our area a lot of times are scared, or they don't even know where to start, right, to book a trip.
Yeah,
like if you were wanting to do Iceland or Portugal, for that matter, you wouldn't even know where to start.
Staying here in our backyard is already like a bunch of things that you got to get listed
and we do all your airlines. We do everything. I mean, you literally just call us. Of course, you have to give us your information like you'd give the airline, and then we take care of everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, we're constantly trying to learn and grow and kind of become more in the modern age than back in the 80s age. So
which is, there's nothing wrong with that. That's how things were done.
Yeah,
you know?
There's nothing wrong with that. We've survived this long doing that. But, you know, we're just trying to kind of broaden our horizons and reach out and do different things to be able to service more customers than just retirees, for sure.
Cool. Anything you've like learned that was like, I had no idea about this, or, you know, oh, what a neat, you know, thing I've learned, whether it's technology or, you know, something about a trip or just the people that you work with?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is like just learning all about the travel industry. When I first started there, I had no experience in travel. I actually came from banking. I had worked in banking for several years. And I was really young, but it just became kind of like monotonous. And I just was not into the sales aspect of banking. And I'm like, well, I mean, I could sell trips, and that's like way better than trying to sell somebody a CD in banking business. You know what I mean?
Also, dream. Hello.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to come talk to you excited about a trip?
Right, because everybody's always so excited.
Yeah.
You know, they're just planning their trips and all this stuff. So just learning about the industry itself, there's so many moving parts to this industry that people don't realize. And so just opening my world to that and then absolutely falling in love with it. I mean, it was like I was there, started in 2011, and that's why I'm still here and where I'm at now, because I mean, I just 100% love the job.
Well, I love that you found a dream job. That's, you know how rare that is for people. And so for you to be able to do that, providing experiences for them. So you mentioned your background in banking, which leads me to, are you from the area?
I'm actually originally from southwestern Virginia, like Richlands. So down in, I usually say coal country. So Bluefield, Tazewell area. So I grew up there and I moved up here in 2008. And so I've been in this area since 2008. So this is definitely my home.
Yeah.
I when I moved up here for school and things like that, and then got a job at a bank, and then I was like, oh, I think this is what I want to do. I mean, I loved doing the banking, but then actually how I found out about Sunshine Tours is a lot of my customers were customers at the bank.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, kismet.
It is. It was like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So then when I met them, and then I was like, I'm just going to go see. And the crazy thing is, I actually went and gave them my resume. I wanted to be a full-time tour guide. I just wanted to take people on vacations.
Yeah. Anywhere, or was there any particular love you had for an area?
Yeah, just anywhere. Cool. I just wanted to kind of get my foot in the door. And at that time, they told me they weren't hiring. And so I was like, oh, well, dang, it just wasn't meant to be. And then literally 2 days later, a lady called me from the office. She said, I know you want to be a tour guide, but would you be willing to work in the office? And I was like, sure.
Yeah, foot in the door.
Yeah,
whatever it takes.
So that's kind of where it started.
And girl, now you're leading the whole thing.
Now here I am.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
I love a success story. It's
Yes.
my favorite. So let's talk about, we've traveled all over the country, all over the world, but right here in your hometown, you know, where are you eating, playing, going? What do you love about this area and community that just keeps you here and wanting to build more community with others?
I love doing the hiking trails, things like that, going out on the lake. I love being on the water, whether it's the lake, the river, kayaking,
Any
floating.
water will do.
Any water will do. I'm actually going to do that on Saturday.
Cool.
I love doing that. I love going downtown to the market, doing stuff like that down there, eating down there. There's just so many options for everybody. All the festivals in this area, you know, it feels like there's always something to do. No matter what season it is, there's a festival or an event or whatever.
If you're bored, you're not looking.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, just the concerts, the events, the Berglund Center, whether it's a play or a concert or Dr. Pepper Park or whatever it is, you know, there's always something to do. And it's not that it feels like it's so big that you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my biggest draw to this area. I'll probably never leave, no matter where I've been. There's lots of places I'd love to see, but I think this is home.
I think that speaks volumes for Roanoke, though, that you have traveled the world, traveled the country, and as much as you love it and will continue to do it, Roanoke is where you want to be.
Yeah, it always feels good to come home.
Yeah. There's something about seeing that Mill Mountain Star at the top of the mountain. I know I'm home now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a homing beacon.
Exactly.
Well, I love that. Is there anything else that maybe we haven't covered for Sunshine Tours or about you and your rise to success, really, that maybe listeners should know about, or even services that you really want to, you know, make sure that that they know that it's available?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot to us. I think the only thing that I would want to say to people is that if you've just ever given it a thought but been too scared, is to just do it. We tell a lot of people, maybe if you're too scared to start on a week-long trip, do a 1 day or a 2 day trip just to kind of get a feel of how it operates, and then kind of work your way up from there. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to come, just come. If you got
Good travel advice.
Yeah, if you've got the time, just do it. You know, I feel like we only live one life, right? And you know, you have to make every minute count, no matter what the situation is. And we take a lot of pride in helping people. You know, we have people who are very on fixed incomes, especially with being retirees or what have you, you know, and they don't have a lot of money. We pride ourselves in making our trips affordable so that people can go see these places. You know, so just the last thing I would want to say is just give us a chance.
I love that. Think about that. Yeah. When you travel and you think about that feeling, that awe-inspiring, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do it again. You can feel that way all the time when you travel with Sunshine Tours.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Well, thank you, Kendra, so much for coming on and telling us more about Sunshine Tours, the amazing things that you do. There's just so much more to it than even I realized. And so chatting with you, I gotta book my trip to Iceland now.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. So again, thank you so much for joining me. And again, thank you you to Kendra and Sunshine Tours sponsoring the episode, for being such a wonderful, bright part of our local travel scene. You're really providing amazing experiences for people, even if it's just right down the road or across the world.
Yeah, thank you.
So we love seeing a local company thrive, seeing a local girl thrive and rise to the top. What an amazing story you have. Just starting out, and now you're running everything. I hope you get some sleep, maybe on a bus.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much again to helping others do what they love, exploring new cultures, taking time to relax, and of course, seeing the world. Amazing. And listeners, if you're ready for your next trip and want to learn more about traveling with Sunshine Tours, be sure to visit GoSunshineTours.com. We'll be sure to list that information on our website so you can travel in style. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow Roanokeers. We'll be back soon with more stories from the people and places just like Kendra that make our city shine. Until next time, this has been From Print to Podcast, where print comes to life one great story at a time.